Hello and welcome back to the next episode of My Simple Money. My name's James and I've been a financial advisor here in Stoke-on-Trent for the last 11 years. We've talked on previous episodes about mortgages and insurance and various other financial products, and this show is all about you and your money and what you can access and understand when it comes to finances in Stoke-on-Trent. Talking about something a little bit different today, and I'm joined by Steve from Just Credit Union because we're talking about credit unions today. But just before we get on to Steve and what that is, there's a driver behind all of this around financial vulnerability within Stoke-on-Trent. I just want to go over some statistics because I don't know if you've heard these statistics, Steve, but you probably know about some of these. But the illegal money lending team found that in 2022, 52% of people who'd borrowed from a loan shark did it for food and fuel. So a loan shark, for those of you who don't know, it's illegal money lending, isn't it? It's not a bank. There's no regulation behind it.
So there's nothing controlling what they lend, how they lend it, and more importantly, how they try to get the money back off you.
Exactly.
And you may pay it off, or you think you paid it off, but they just wind the screw a bit higher there.
Yeah, and it's completely illegal, and it preys on vulnerable people. And so, things like payday loans as well. So according to Money Hub in 2024, 18% of people applied for a payday loan in a recent 6-month period. And whereas only 10% of people applied for a mortgage. Now, we think most people have a mortgage when they buy the house, but then almost double that number of people are applying for payday lending. So in the UK, and I think particularly in Stoke-on-Trent, there's this real need for people to borrow money. So in my conversations and I work in the city, I realised that there hasn't been a credit union for quite some time. And so I've been involved in a project to launch something, and we're really excited about this. In November, we're launching a new credit union in the city called the Potters Bank, and that's what today is all about. And so I'm joined by Steve from Just Credit Union. Steve, just quickly tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Steve Barras. I work for an organisation called Just Credit Union, which is working very closely with the Potters Bank. I'm their development officer, so my role is really to go out, tell a story about credit unions, engage with communities, with employers, with people like yourself who want to make it happen in their area.
Brilliant. So, begs a really obvious question. What is a credit union?
Good question. Good question. A credit union's a not-for-profit savings and loans cooperative.
Okay.
We're owned by our members rather than external stakeholders. We're very much community-based. We're about working with partners actually on the ground in our communities. We provide affordable loans from as little as £300, and we also offer savings accounts. Our general aim is to help people to get better control of their finances, to be able to make good money choices, and to keep people away from the payday lenders that you were talking about and from the illegal money lenders, which once they get hold of people, it's very difficult to get away from them.
I think the thing that struck me, particularly in Stoke of late, is the number of high street banks that are closing. I mean, in Burslem alone, I think about there was 10 years ago, there was a Lloyds, there's NatWest, there was a Barclays, all within 50 yards of each other, and they've all gone. And particularly near my own office, there's a post office where there's a cash counter, and that's gone. Yeah. So access to financial services in a physical sense is disappearing. Is that having an effect, do you think, on people's...
Absolutely. And the other issue is that the banks just are not interested in doing those small sum short-term loans. Right. People do need to borrow £500 because the washing machine's blown up, the car's broken down. The banks aren't interested. They want to do the £10,000, the £5,000 loans. And a credit union is very much about people who need to sort out the kids' uniform, the kids' school shoes, those sort of things. They don't want to borrow huge amounts, and we offer an ethical alternative.
One of the things that we've talked about in previous shows, and that I talk with various colleagues about, is understanding what we mean by financial vulnerability. And I think some people think that to be successful financially you have to have millions in the bank. But I also think, conversely, some people don't realise that they could actually be quite vulnerable. What is financial vulnerability? What does it mean?
Well, yeah, that's. I think it means what it means to the individual person in reality. There's a kind of quote that we're all sort of 2 paychecks away from running out of money.
Do you know the statistic on that, by the way?
Go on then.
So I think Legal & General put this out. The average person in the UK is 29 days away from payday to being bust.
Yeah, absolutely. lots of people do not have savings, or very little savings, and that's not surprising with the cost of living and all the other expenses that are going up and have gone up over the last few years. So people just don't have that cushion. So when something goes wrong, perhaps lots of us can probably manage if the car needs its MOT, but if the car needs its MOT, the kids need the shoes, and the washing machine blows up, then you've got problems.
Yeah.
And anybody can find themselves in that situation.
And I think, people, money's a difficult conversation. So much of the reason I wanted to do this show is to open the conversation about money. It's people don't like asking for help. People are embarrassed. I mean, we live in an Instagram world now where people are posting their fabulous holidays and their latest cars. But, particularly the kind of customers that I've seen on the mortgage side, you can have somebody who lives in a tiny house that they own and drives an old battered car that they own. But you look on Instagram and you've got somebody on a fantastic holiday and they're driving the latest. They don't own any of it. It's all borrowed. Absolutely. And so actually, a lot of people with less are far wealthier than those people who glamorize that. But it makes the conversation really difficult. Part of the reason that we wanted to do the credit union was to create a space where people felt safe and comfortable to have the conversation. And that's what the Potters Bank is about. It's why it's called the Potters Bank. How is Just Credit Union involved in the Potters Bank? So you're Just Credit Union, we've got the Potters Bank here. What's happening there? How does that work?
Right. Just Credit Union wants to work in communities where people have the drive, desire and need for that sort of organisation. We came across Potters Bank, or Potters Bank came across us. I can't remember which way round it was. But we both had the same drive, the same aims and the same mission. We were a credit union already, so we'd gone through all the regulatory requirements some years ago. We're fully registered, fully regulated. And that's the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, that all the banks and everything are... Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. Well, you probably would, because you come from that sort of world. But we're regulated with them. We're also regulated by the Prudential Authority. So there's a number, it's quite a few jumps to go through to get a credit union set up and keep it running. We've got all those systems in place. We've gone through all that pain many years ago, and we continue to keep, obviously, all that regulatory stuff up to date. We also have all the back office systems.
Right. They're
in place. And we have staff who know what they're doing to cover the back office side. But I think most importantly, we want to achieve the same thing. Yeah. We want to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your community. And I think it made it made the getting the Potters Bank off the ground much quicker than might have been able to happen. The other thing is we also have a pool of money that's there and ready to lend.
I was going to ask, because we're talking about borrowing money, but where's that money coming from? Is it coming from banks? Is it coming from investment? Is it coming from Steve? Are you lending them the money?
To some extent, yes. The reality is, what people save with us is what we lend into the local community. So it's all about people helping people. Now, because we've been going 25 years, we've built up a pool of savings from our members, which we can lend into other communities. We would hope that in Stoke, in due course, people will start to save with us because they can see what the money's doing in their local community. Yeah. They know how it's been spent. It isn't going off into oil or ammunition or whatever you might not like, but ethically, it is being used in your local community. And it's fully protected.
I was going to say that feels risky to me. If I'm going to save my money in a local small institution, if I put it with one of the big high street banks, I kind of understand there's a bit of protection. But is it the same with you? So if let's say I come along and open up a savings account and you lend the money to somebody because the car's broken down, what if they don't repay that loan?
That's all. We've been doing this for 25 years plus, so we know how to do it. We know how to lend, and we know how to manage that risk. Your personal money is not at risk at all. It's fully protected by the Financial Service Compensation Scheme in the same way as a bank. If you were, unless you've got more than £85,000 with us, which I suspect most people wouldn't have. But yeah, you're fully protected. We've been going over 25 years and we have a strong balance sheet.
Great. So let's say, for example, then, a hypothetical situation. I live in Stoke and my car breaks down, all right, and it's £500 to repair. I know I'm not going to get to work unless I've got a car. I've got no savings. How is the Potters Bank going to help me?
Right. We can provide you with a loan. We do make sure it's affordable, because what we don't want to do is lend to people where we'll make their situation worse. So if somebody's working, certainly they're likely to have affordability, but we can also take people who are on benefits.
Okay.
Whether that's child benefit. We do a lot of loans which is based around people having child benefit, because what the children need that money for doesn't necessarily come in equal monthly bits. People need to buy the school uniform, the shoes in one lump, so they can then repay that loan through their child benefit. So what we do, people can apply online. We'll talk about some other services we're going to provide across Stoke later. People can apply online, fill in a quite simple application form. It comes through to our underwriters. We don't have computer say yes, computer say no. We have real people who are used to dealing person to person with loan decisions. So they'll assess that loan, and it's really around affordability. As I say, we don't want to give anybody a loan where we're going to make their life worse.
Okay.
If there is an issue, we will signpost them to other forms of support.
Okay.
Once they've the loan's been assessed and approved, you get a digital form to sign, and then we transfer the funds into your bank account. It's that simple.
Simple as that.
We can do a hard copy because we don't want people to be excluded because they don't have digital access.
Yeah.
And some of the services we'll be providing in Stoke are very much around that. So if you're IT savvy, if you're used to doing things online, we can do end-to-end digital.
One of the things that you've mentioned in our conversation before is how you help them people build savings, though. So because obviously if their car breaks down, it's £500 whatever, and they're borrowing to that. What happens the next time something goes on?
Exactly.
How do you help there?
We have something which is, I think, unique to the credit union world. It's called Save As You Borrow. So what you do, you take out a loan. The vast majority of what you're paying goes to pay off your loan, as you said. £9, £8 to £10 is going to pay off what you borrowed. The other pound is going to a savings account, which is yours. It's there. We ask you to build a sort of month's worth of savings, and you're then building up a cushion. Hopefully, you get to the end of the loan, your loan's paid off, and you've got a nice little sum of money sat there in your bank. So when something goes wrong next time, you've got it there.
I suppose, actually, if you're comfortable paying £10 a month and you've gotten used to that, the loan's paid off, you could carry on.
Yeah.
£10 a month. I remember, when I entered into the world of work and I managed to build up my first small pot of savings, it was tiny. Mentally, the difference that makes to you, knowing that actually I've got a little cushion, and I think that's so much about vulnerability in people's mental health, is helping provide that cushion for them.
Absolutely. A lot of people come to us and they say, I've never been able to save, I'll never be able to save. 6 months later, they've got a pot of money there, and they're suddenly feeling, wow, I didn't think I could do this, but I can. And sometimes people will ring in and say, how much have I got in my savings account? We tell them, and they're amazed. They're like, wow, that's fantastic. And sometimes people might need to borrow, first time they might need to borrow £500. Next time something goes wrong, they only need £300. And then time after that, they go, actually, I don't need a loan. I've got the money in my savings account.
I think there's things as well, like... I just imagine perhaps that the single parent who's got a bit of cash for Christmas, where they don't, when we looked at some of the stats around illegal lending, Christmas was a big driver.
Absolutely.
For that, because the pressure to spend a fortune on your kids, which I'm a parent, I completely get that, but putting yourself at risk of harm just to meet society's expectations about what Christmas should look like.
Yes.
I'm genuinely excited that we can have people in Stoke-on-Trent, members of the Potters Bank, who go, do you know what, we bought Christmas dinner for the family and we did it safely. That's what really drives me on this. That's what really
we do
me.
Provide a Christmas saving account, so people
specifically
can
for Christmas.
Open it in January. Don't wait till July. Get it open in January. Start putting a little bit away, and by the time you get to November, you'll have your Christmas dinner paid for. Few of the presents sorted. It really takes the pressure off.
There was a survey done. Apparently, 84% of people in Stoke said they find it difficult to manage their household income. 84% of people, and if we can provide a face for that, an access point. Now, speaking of access points, it's not just online, because one of the things I was concerned when we started this project is, what if somebody doesn't have a smartphone or access to a computer, or is of an age where they weren't taught this kind of stuff at school? I mean, that can be a problem. If the banks are shutting, how are we helping?
Absolutely. The credit union model is that we are inclusive. We want to reach everybody. Yes, we do, as I said earlier, end-to-end digital. We can post out a hard copy if people need that. But the reality is, what we really want to be providing is a face-to-face service.
Yeah.
So people can come and have a chat. As you say, it's really hard talking to people about money, but we're not a bank. We're real people, and we're there. We'll chat with you. We know it's difficult. It's really hard to save. It's really hard to plan. It's really hard to budget.
So we know all that. There's not a branch, though, is there? What we're
going to have is a series of community lounges across
which the council already have. Yeah,
exactly. And we'll have a presence in those and a timetable of when we're in those, and people will be able to just drop in, or they'll be able to make an appointment to come in. And
it won't be you. We're actually hiring somebody local. They'll have a Stokey accent.
Exactly.
They'll understand the difference between a book and a book. There we are.
I did used to live in Stoke for a while, but what we want is a local face. That's massive part of what we want to achieve, and that's why working with the Potters Bank is great for us, because you know your community, you know where your people are, you know what they need. We can just sit at the back and help you with it. But we're recruiting locally. That's happening at the minute. So yes, it will be a local person who will be available who'll come and have a chat.
I'm going to ask you a couple of kind of stories very quickly to finish off with, but it's just to highlight in the in this project that, because I've been involved on the other side, I've been kind of heading this up from Stoke's point of view, so I'm really excited about it. But it's going to be in all the community lounges across Stoke-on-Trent. Provided by Stoke Council. Stoke-on-Council are fully on board and behind this, so it's all endorsed by the council. The Chamber of Commerce are excited about this. Lots of local businesses. Perhaps we'll come on to it another time. We're going to run out of time today, but there is a whole thing for employers to create employment saving schemes. Yeah. So if you're a small business or even a large business in Stoke-on-Trent, you can provide saving schemes direct from salary under PAYE for your staff, which helps create resilience in the workplace as well. So that's a whole thing.
Absolutely. And it's a fantastic way to help your employees build that cushion that reduces their worry at work. They're not worrying about money or...
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, before we close, it gives a couple of success stories. This is, this the kind of thing where people might... That was me.
Yeah, okay. I should say I came from a traditional banking background when I joined the credit union some 8 or 9 years ago. And I remember going out with some of our outreach people with them then. One story that always chimed with me, a mum brought in a young daughter who was in tears. She was in bits. She was about to lose her home. Her children, she split with her husband. The children had gone with the dad, so she'd lost a lot of the family support benefits.
Yeah.
That left her in a large house, unable to pay the rent. She was in bad debt. And this conversation went on for some time, and mum walked around the garden outside for a little bit and then brought her back in. And eventually where we got to with the conversation was that we were able to do an affordable loan that was sustainable in the future, that would pay off her arrears and give her a deposit for a smaller, cheaper flat. Wow. And that happened. She had enough room for her kids to come and stay at the weekend in this new house. And I remember talking to her a little bit later that, she kept touch with the kids. She kept a roof over her head. And she said now she had some savings for Christmas as well.
Come on.
This is what it's all about. It's people helping people.
I mean, that's actual life change. That's not just fixed it for 6 months. That changed her life.
And that's the important thing. We're not a sticking plaster. We try to make sure it's a long-term solution to people. As I say, if we think a loan will provide that long-term solution, we'll look for something else that might help them better.
Brilliant.
And certainly we have a lot of people fleeing domestic violence with their kids. They generally often don't have any control over the finances, so they have no financial history.
Yeah.
That they haven't been allowed to. So they flee. Where they're going to get the money from for the furniture, for whatever they need, keep the kids, in shoes, etc. And it's amazed me when we did a bit of research how many occasions we've helped people in that situation, and they say, we wouldn't be where we're at as a family if it wasn't for the credit union. And you ask, how do we get the money back? That's why, because people know we do it sensibly, we do it ethically, and people want to support us because they know we've changed their lives.
I actually know some of the statistics on default rates. That's the rate at which loans aren't repaid. And actually, you have a lower default rate than any high street bank.
Yeah.
People repay their loans to credit unions because of the life change that you're able to implement.
And we explain the model to people.
Absolutely brilliant.
This is what we're about.
Steve, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's been really good to have you in. We're so excited about this project. If you want to know more information, it's thepottersbank.org, and that's thepottersbank.org. But Steve, thank you very much again.
No, thank you very much for inviting me along, and thank you for your support. We're as excited about this as you are and really want to make it work.
Brilliant.